Hey guys, I wanted to bring you an update on the alternate ailments and alternate skill gem, specifically Divergent Lightning Trap build that I've been playing. I did actually pass on to Standard, pass away, move to the Nether Realm on my first iteration of the character, but that was only around level 80 or so. I think it was 81 or 82, so it was pretty early into the mapping progression, and I didn't really have too much on me of value, so it wasn't really too hard to re-level and re-gear. I am now 91 on this version of the character. It was originally called Oct Returns, so we're just doing it again, Oct Returns again. And I've pushed up into, I think I have a couple T15s and 14s and such done, so we're into, the final red tier maps on the Atlas and getting that completed. This is only a tier 12 because I've been a little spotty with my map drops, and so I'm a little bit low tier at the moment. But I do have some Kirak missions, and I'm hoping that that will refill my stock of higher tier T15 and 16 maps. And yeah, the build has been feeling solid. It's a little bit slower on like the shield charge than I would like, so I want to find a little bit more attack speed somehow. Maybe try and find a source of onslaught. I think there's a moderate modifier you can get from like a fancy essence on the chest piece that gives you onslaught when hit or something. That would be nice, but I do have high evasion, so I don't really get hit that often. But that's one like little nagging problem that I need to solve. But as far as the general feel of the build, it's been fantastic. The damage is there. I've got close to 7k effective hit points, as you can see, between the life and the energy shield down there in the little bottom left corner. And I've still got some more life nodes to click as we gain a few levels past level 90, so I don't really think I'm going to have trouble getting a good hit point pool. I've got spell suppression capped, I've got sap, which is not quite capping against endgame map bosses, but I don't think that'll really be a problem in the long term because some of my gear is not yet where it needs to be, and I'm missing about 50% ailment effect overall, as well as just some more generic damage scaling in a few places, which obviously will make me hit harder and make the ailments easier to apply. You can see against this guy I'm getting 19% sap, and that is 1 point off of cap on sap. And yeah, I am just about to get the first round of bosses done. I've kind of stalled on them a little bit because I want to make sure I'm just going to overpower them, essentially. And I can still progress to higher tier maps without having to actually do those bosses. As well as that, I can still get influence without even having to do those bosses, as you get influence in every map and you just keep dropping the invitations, the quest invitations. So I've been leaving those on the ground until I get a couple more key upgrades, but I'm thinking tomorrow is the day that I just go and do a round through all the new endgame bosses. I can never remember their names. Black Star, Hunger, Exarch, and... oh, the last one's eluding me. But yeah, do all four in a single day, and see how the single target fares. I mean, map bosses haven't really been a trouble, but map bosses shouldn't be much of a trouble for a build that's designed for bossing anyways. I have had a couple of, really nasty Essence and Arch Nemesis mobs that have been tanky enough to withstand most of my damage, but no real close calls in terms of my survivability. Even in maps with things like crit or vuln or monster damage on them, I haven't run into too many issues, so I'm pretty darn hopeful for how this thing's going to perform in the endgame, but this is really its first foray even into proper endgame, as I just hit red maps earlier today. I'm going to hop back into my hideout here, though, and we'll go over the pieces of gear, and I'll talk about where I'm looking to get upgrades and what those upgrades will be. If you just wanted to see a gameplay update and how it was faring in some of the early to mid-red maps, there you go. I hope that was informative, and you know what? That's not an absolutely terrible amulet. We'll put it up for just a few chaos. Basic rares sell decently consistently in hardcore trade. It's one of the things I like about it. There's actually good reason to pick up amulets and rings and all that. Speaking of, I should probably go on D&D so this video doesn't get interrupted. So I'm going to go over the gear here. We've got a real basic helmet that I alt-aug regaled into some life, some evasion, and some res. And I've got trigger-socketed spells when you focus. That is a really important modifier because this build has a lot of buttons to press. Obviously, I have Sniper's Mark, which is incredibly powerful, both for the damage it provides and the projectile count multiplying effect, making our returning projectiles more efficient because the more projectiles there are, each of those projectiles will roll its own individual chance to return, which means it's more likely that any given trap hits twice. Which is kind of the whole concept of this build. In case you missed the theory crafting video for it, the idea is we're using Divergent Lightning Trap in order to get baseline 20% chance to return. I may go for Ashes, but I'm actually considering it might not be necessary. And each trap can hit both when it triggers and then when one of the projectiles returns. One projectile per trap can hit again, so you end up getting basically double damage, provided the boss isn't too terrifically mobile. So yeah, we have a lot of buttons to press, hence the trigger-socketed spells when you focus. That is dropping my Sigil of Power, which I need a little bit more int to get to max level, my Hydrosphere, and my Tornado. These are all going to drop at my feet. That's why I put those into the hat, because I know consistently where they're going to show up. Initially, I had Flame Wall in the hat, which we do also have a Flame Wall in the build, in order to help enable Scorch. But the Flame Wall would just kind of go wherever. I was told it would go where my cursor was. That's what chat was telling me, and I was trying to figure out why it wasn't, and it turns out it just kind of randomly plops down. It doesn't seem to target enemies. It doesn't seem to go where your cursor is. It just goes wherever the heck it wants, whereas all three of these abilities will land at my feet, so that's why those are in the helmet, because they are consistent in their behavior. But yeah, aside from that, we've also rolled 4 Fizz damage taken as fire for a little bit of extra Fizz mitigation. The damage per power charge isn't that great, but yeah, I didn't have very high level currency to keep rerolling that, and it does a thing, so I kept it until I got some more influence currency. And the helmet enchantment is very important. Without that, I don't have any sources of pierce. For the amulet, this is actually the next place I want to upgrade. I don't know if I'm going to go to an Ashes of the Stars. I may buy one and try it to see how impactful it is in the build. It does also let me fit in a Defiance banner, or even better, an Anomalous Dread banner. But it doesn't come with a life roll, and this one has 90-something life, including that strength, which is pretty significant, and I kind of like the life. So I may go for just an amulet with plus gems on it, and still room for throwing speed, or maybe high crit multi and room for throwing speed, as well as a better anoint than that. Though this anoint isn't bad. 30% effective non-damaging elements for how cheap it is to anoint that is quite good. The rings are pretty basic. I mean, we got Call of the Brotherhood, which enables the brittle on the build, partially converting my lightning over to cold. And then this is a ring that I just picked up off the floor and unveiled. It's got Flat Fire and Flat Lightning. Those are not 2 attacks, so that is generically to any hit that I cause, which gets inherited by my traps, so it's a bit of extra flat damage, helps enable Scorch. It's not amazing, but it's a decent ring. Shield is life, res, spell suppression with a little bit of damage on it. Basic 6-link chest piece with life and spell suppression, and room to craft life gain as extra energy shield. That strength is actually helping with my stat issues too, so a decently nice chest piece. Could use more armor and evasion, though, pretty low on that. The weapon, the flat fire dispels, is pretty important, as that does help to get Scorch to a reasonable level versus endgame bosses. And obviously, I'm not going to say no to almost 90% increased spell damage and a bit of crit multi. An open suffix is pretty important here, too, for trap throwing speed. The gloves are another thing I'm looking to upgrade soon. I want to get gloves that not only hinder on hit with spells, but also unnerve on hit. I used a similar pair of gloves on my Stormcall build. But I'm going to be looking for either hybrid armor evasion base or just a pure evasion base instead of these. Probably hybrid. I think Dragon Scale Gauntlets is the best version of hybrid. And yeah, I'd love a little bit more total res in the slot to free up affixes elsewhere. Such as on the belt, where I really want to have an open suffix in order to craft throwing speed. This is a solid belt, has quite a lot of life on it. And some strength to help out with stat problems again, but it could be better. You can get a lot of throwing speed out of the belt, especially if you use Essences of Zeal. And the boots, I want to go for so there's 2 options in the boot slot. I can go for Redeemer boots and max out my ailment effect, getting up to 60% increased effect of non-damaging ailments, but obviously not getting the new influence implicits. Or I could go for a pair of something like Slink boots, for instance, with the new influence implicits, and go for an action speed implicit. Now, you can go for Tailwind boots alongside effective non-damaging elements with the more traditional influence and get Tailwind out of Hunter influence, but trap crits don't count as your crits, so I would only get the Tailwind when I crit, which would not be very often. Like my shield charge critting. I guess bosses I would probably have the Tailwind up because Tornado is down and that hits a lot, and it's a spell and I have a lot of spell crit, so probably I would have Tailwind consistently whenever I press the Tornado button, but I wouldn't have it really while clearing, which is where it's most important. So I think I'd rather have the consistency of the action speed implicit that can be rolled with, I believe, Exarch, but I might be wrong on that, on just a pair of rare Slink boots, and then go for something like Stun Avoid with the other implicit modifier. And the affixes in this pair of boots are quite nice, though. Good life, very good res, good move speed, chaos res implicit. Like, I'm not unhappy with these boots, but I think they can be improved. Anyways, that's about where I'm at. I don't have anything too fancy for jewels either. We've just got some life crit multi-damage duel. I believe this is life, yeah, this is life damage with a 1% pen implicit, woo. And this is life proj damage and 1% pen. That should actually probably be improved. That is not a very good jewel. I have some extra currency now. I think I bought this for 5C when I initially hit maps. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. It about outlines the plans that I have for this build. I do think that I'll probably be going into some of those boss fights tomorrow. If I can get the amulet upgrade or the glove upgrade that I want, you know, fit in things like another gem level or unnerve, and then also flip these gems and get quality on them, maybe even get a woke added lightning. Plenty of room to scale damage still, and the damage already feels solid enough for endgame, so I'm pretty hopeful for this build, and I hope you're interested in watching the rest of its progress. And also, I hope I don't go to standard. So, wish me luck on that front, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Y'all have a good one.